of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And you're right, she is, Christine.
I will call this meeting to order.
There.
First order of business is public announcements. Details regarding public announcements may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. First announcement, Fairfield's annual town budget meeting will be held at the community center on Monday.
Sorry.
I'll just begin this one again. Fairfield's annual town budget meeting will be held at the Fairfield Community Center on Monday, May 13th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Number two, the MSAD number 49 annual school budget meeting will be held at Lawrence Junior High on Tuesday, May 14th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Number three, the MSAD number 49 school budget validation referendum election will be held at the community center on June 11th, 2019. Absentee voting is May 15th through June 6th. Number four, annual spring cleanup is scheduled from Monday, May 13th to Friday, May 17th. There are changes to the program and brochures are available at the town office. Number five, the Fairfield Memorial Day Parade with Lawrence High School Marching Band and Fairfield Benton Fire and Rescue will take place at 11 a.m. on Monday, May 27th, starting at the Fairfield Community Center, traveling Main Street and Western Avenue, stopping at Maplewood Cemetery and then Monument Park. Number six, the Fairfield Farmers Market opens mid-May and is held on Wednesdays from 2 to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. The market is located at the Fairfield Church of the Nazarene at 81 Main Street. The second order of business is public hearings. There are no public hearings scheduled for today. The third order of business are public comments. Members of the public may speak to the council on any item or reserve the right to speak on a specific item that is on the meeting agenda when the item is addressed. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak? Go up to the podium.
Greg Carey from Carey Land Surveys. I wish to reserve the right to speak on the workshop Bill Sturtevant issue.
All right, then I will recognize you at that time.
Thank you, sir.
The fourth order of business are report, well, I guess, is there any else from the public who wishes to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to the fourth order of business. Staff and committee reports, and we'll start with the town manager's report.
On May 2nd, I attended the SEDC meeting. It was held at Chimbro's training facility in Pittsfield. We were given a tour of that facility and an overview of their workforce development efforts. It's quite a location, and they've put quite a few people through there. And they train people for everything. It was amazing. And on May 7th, the Public Works Director and I met with members of the PAL board to discuss their future plans for the field improvements, whether it be existing fields or the land that they had received, that the town received from Doug Cutchins a couple of years ago, and where those were at. And then also, just as an update and a reminder for Monday night's meeting, please make sure you bring your budget binders with you. If you need any additional documentation, anything that you think that you would like to have for additional information, just get those requests to us as soon as you can, so we can make sure we can put those together for you for Monday. But make sure you bring your budget binders. And that's it.
Are there any committees that wish to report? Seeing none. The fifth order of business is to waive the reading of and accept the minutes as printed or amended for meeting number 2019-08 held on April 24th, 2019.
So moved.
Second. I have a comment.
All right.
Since I went here last meeting, I was reading through the minutes,
Yes.
and down on the back page says recess. It says motion carried 5.
That should be 4.
Okay. Then down on 10th order of business, motion says carried by 5. Adjournment.
So I think in that case, I'll take this as a motion to amend all references to 5 to nothing votes to be 4 to nothing votes.
Yes.
All right, and so I'll say that Mr. Lawrence has moved that, and Mr. Pashad second. All right, is there any further discussion on that point? And I think you are in fact correct. If there's only 4 people, the minutes should only reflect 4 votes. And so we'll take a vote on the motion to amend. All in favor? All right, and so that carries. And now on to the main motion, which is to approve the minutes now as amended for meeting number 2019-08 held on April 24th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
So it's already been moved and seconded and it's on the table. The question now is there any further debate beyond those amendments? Seeing no further debate, all in favor of approving the minutes? Any opposed? Any abstaining? So that's 4 in favor, none opposed, and 1 abstention. And so that passes. The next item is the 6th order of business to approve the treasurer's warrant number 66 in the amount of $435,365.46.
Correction.
Yes, correction.
Yes?
It's 453.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
In the amount of $453,365.46. And I'm going to take each of these warrants separately. So that would be the first item. It would be warrant number 66.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any debate? Seeing no debate, I'll take a vote. All in favor of approving warrant number 66? Any opposed? Any abstaining? So that passes. And we'll now move on to warrant T1 in the amount of $7,151.20.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any debate? Seeing no debate, I will call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, that passes. The 7th order of business is to take action on the following items of business. Item number 19-40. Ordered that the town council hereby signs MSAD number 49 district budget referendum election warrant.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any debate? And I would just point out this is a legally required approval to post a warrant so we can actually have the election. So that is what we are doing. Is there anyone else? Seeing nothing further, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? That passes. Next item is item number 19-41. Ordered that the town council hereby considers and awards bids for a 20-ton tag equipment trailer for public works to be funded by the Public Works Capital Equipment account.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. And as to discussion, I would just start pointing out that there was another bid received recently that is lower than the recommended bid from the Public Works Director's memo. It does look like there is an additional memo indicating that there were some questions regarding the quality of this company, and could have the Public Works Director just address that briefly.
So there was another bid accepted. It was lower, but it was from a company from Florida. So when I reached out to this company to find out where the local dealership would be, they were unable to really provide an answer to that question. So, and also when I called, it was like calling a call center.
Oh.
So it was a little bit strange, to say the least. So that's why I recommend going with a local dealer that can do the warranty work and we can get parts from readily.
Is this a replacement of the trailer that Bruce?
This is replacing our 1989 equipment trailer.
So is the one that you're talking about, the Nordax Incorporated, is that the one you're talking about?
It was International Technologies, was it?
Main trailer.
International Technologies.
International.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Was the one that came in as the lowest bidder, but we don't know.
Can't find them.
Even in writing, they said, when you contact us for warranty work, we will then let you know where the closest place for you to go is.
Really?
Through internet search, the local dealer, the nearest dealer I found was New Jersey.
That's not
So it was
good.
a concern.
No.
And I'm actually rather concerned that this might be what's going to be happening technology-wise when it comes to RFPs, so we're gonna have to be very careful with these going forward.
Absolutely.
It's very unusual to have something, I've never had anything like this happen to us for a bid, so. It was
So which one did you say you were recommending again?
It would be the next highest bid.
Main trailer
Main trailer, okay,
at 18,680.
okay.
I think that for the extra money, it's worth having the peace of mind knowing
That
that
it can
we
be
can
fixed
actually get it
locally.
fixed and it won't cost us an arm and a leg to do so.
So, do I have a motion then, to accept the bid from Main Trailer in the amount of $18,680?
So moved.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? That passes. The next item is item number 19-42. I do, however, have a note that this needs to be tabled to our next meeting. So,
Okay.
do I have a motion to table this to our next
So
meeting?
moved.
Second.
All right, there is a motion and a second. Does anyone want to debate the motion to table?
No.
All right, seeing no debate, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? That will be tabled to our next meeting. So our eighth order of business is the council workshop and other business, which will begin with a discussion of waiving the civil penalty levied against the estate of William Sturdivant. And I believe that somebody has in fact reserved 3 minutes to speak to us on that point.
Yes, Greg Carey from Carey Land Surveys again. The property is currently being looked at to be purchased, and this has been a long ongoing problem with the town. I don't believe any of you were involved with it at all, but
I was.
okay. So you're aware how long this has been going on and the issue that was.
Considerable period of time, yes.
Well, now we are going through the planning board to reduce the number of lots that are there, to revise the subdivision so that there isn't going to be a road built, but there's going to be a right-of-way given to the lots that are remaining. So that's going to take the road off the table of having to be built any further. I don't know. I think Bill talked with Dan Kissinger spoke with the Public Works Director, and from what Dan told me, and I'm just saying what Dan told me of your discussions, when I say your, it's with the Public Works Director, the road right now was built to standards to be paved, but Bill never paved it. So if it's built to that standard, then that's going to meet the standards set for the private right-of-way and driveways that are going to service the new lot, the lots that are there, the lots that are going to remain from the subdivision. My question to the council would be, what is it going to take, basically, assurance-wise, for Dan Kissinger to move forward to try to get that taken care of, or have that go away? Because if it doesn't go away, nobody's ever going to buy that lot, and nothing's ever going to be done up there, and the town won't reap the benefits of additional tax revenues from $200,000 homes being built up there. So I guess the question is, what can we do to move forward on that? And the other question would be, if we do, what would you like to see for me to put on the plan before I take it to the planning board that might lock him into making sure that that road is where it's supposed to be?
You said it's gonna be a right of way.
Right away, I said road, but
Well, yeah,
the,
who's gonna plow the road?
pardon?
Who's gonna plow the road? If
It's
right
gonna
of-
be, there's gonna be a right-of-way agreement between Laird Stinson and Gammons, who owns a lot up there, and Dan Kissinger, when they work out the wording of the right-of-way itself.
So will it be private?
Totally private. I have a note on the plan already that it's never to be turned over to the town for maintenance or,
Okay, that's what he,
or
I think that's
upkeep.
what you were asking.
yeah, we added that note to the plan to make sure that it's not ever gonna be taken over or maintained by the town.
To that point, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but we would actually have to approve acceptance of a road, even if there were some attempt to
Right.
take it over, correct?
Even if it was ever to be done, the council would actually have to vote to accept the road as
So,
being.
in fact, we can always, as long as the council does not approve that, have a stopgap against that
Right.
becoming a public responsibility.
That's correct.
All right.
So, Mr. Chairman, one of the reasons we put that on the plan is so that somebody buying the property in the future can actually see that, and with knowing that, and not being privy to council meeting or to the planning board meeting, they can go and they can see that it's on the public record that they don't have a hope of that ever becoming a road where a school bus is gonna drive up there to pick up their children later on, or, that's one of the reasons we put it on the plan. And again, you're absolutely correct, it still would have to come to you in any sense before it could ever be a road, but we put that on there basically so that somebody buying it isn't just a buyer beware, they actually know that it's not ever gonna become a road.
I appreciate your transparency on that. And I think as to the question of what other steps we need to take to, on our end, to make this property marketable, that is in fact the purpose of our discussion today. So, do you have any further remarks?
I do not.
Okay. With that, I will
Thank you.
defer to our town manager to give us some more
Thank you.
background on this issue.
So this issue with this subdivision has been around, as Mr. Carey said, for many years. We actually have, the municipality has a writ of execution recorded for not only our legal fees dating back to 2010, but also the writ the judgment created a civil penalty on this property for every day that Mr. Sturtevant at the time did not construct the road in there properly. It was $100 a day. So Mr. Sturtevant has since passed away, and our legal counsel believes that that penalty would stop on the date of his death, which was August 1st, 2013, which would leave 1,095 days, which totals over $109,000 would be the penalty on this.
Wow.
So the conversations that we've had with folks regarding this project, we've actually been researching this for some time and looking into it, trying to figure out a solution because there are people that have purchased lots in that area that can't do anything with them. Would the council be willing to waive the $100 a day civil penalty, which you have the right to do, and only collect the legal fees that we needed, which is $6,457.06. Might make it easier for them. I believe Mr. Kissinger is concerned, his bank is concerned, wanting to know whether or not this would be a possibility because it's a substantial expense in order for this to happen. What we have discussed is that if the existing property owners are happy and made whole with the easements that they plan to grant, if everything that what we would request would be that they would put in writing what their intentions are, and as those pieces are done and they've met those obligations, would the council be willing to waive that $100 a day civil penalty if they meet those certain obligations? And that, I think, is, I would recommend that if you were, that you made sure those obligations were completed before you waived that, because of course filings still need to be done and all of that. But
Yeah.
It does sound like it has the potential to be a solution to a very old problem, and that everybody at the end can get what they need to get out of it.
So with respect to these penalties, it was my understanding from the memo that you had sent about this issue, and from what you've said now, essentially the intention was to coerce a particular individual who has long since deceased to do a particular act, and since those penalties were not effective during his lifetime and certainly couldn't be effective after his death, I am inclined to consider waiving them. I guess what I would think we would need to from my point of view, what we would need to work on in order to get there is not just a sort of plan of items, but how are we going to verify that those items have actually happened? Because, for instance, you mentioned knowing that the lot owners are satisfied.
Right.
How do we go about ultimately knowing that they are satisfied? I think
Public meeting.
Well, I think it's
at the
the,
bare minimum, we need something in writing stating that they are.
one, there's quite a few things that would need to happen. So there's the subdivision that needs to be corrected, and that would need to be approved. There are easements, I believe, that need to be written and deeds adjusted for those individuals that are still there. As well as, the $6,457 needs to be paid. What we had been looking for from Mr. Kissinger was a list detailing, these are all the things we're going to do to make everyone whole at the end of this project. This conversation here tonight was, are you even willing to consider any of this so that we can go forward and put all those things into place? And what are exactly they're planning to do, and how do we verify that that's been done? And I think until we know exactly what their intentions are in writing, we're not going to be able to determine how we determine whether or not they've completed them. So,
All right, so like I said, from my point of view, I think first thing we need is a bullet point list of what we need to see, and then some plan for how we verify it.
right.
Does this have to go back to the planning board again?
So yes, and Cindy's here to help with answering some of these questions. She's dealt with this piece of property much longer than I have, and has the ability to help answer some of your stuff. But yes, it would need to go back, and the subdivision plans need to be revised. So.
Maybe a checklist, or if he goes from the planning board saying, yes, they checked off, he's
That was done.
fixed it.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is that it's going to take a little bit of time before all of this actually becomes a reality. Is that what we're saying?
Well, I think
Yeah.
the plan is for it to happen relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Within the next couple of months.
I would invite you back up to address that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, we had our first planning board meeting Monday, and we're on the schedule for the next planning board meeting for final approval, actually.
Good.
We have a lot of conditions on the plan already as far as setbacks, still maintaining setbacks, still price of building, the cost of, based on 2000 construction costs. It's the same wording that was talked about originally in the original plan when we did the original subdivision. Fortunately, I still have everything from the original
Just a couple of
subdivision.
years ago.
Pardon?
Just a couple of years ago.
This one's relatively recent. So we have everything in place to have the plan approved at the next meeting. There are a couple things that we want to check on for sure. We're thinking about getting an engineer out there to do a boring on the gravel, make sure that the gravel hasn't either settled or spread to the point where it's not going to meet the standards that the Public Works Director, and he'll make sure, I don't know if you want a letter from the Public Works Director once that's done, or just a letter from the engineer will suffice. The other thing that we were going to do is we're going to draw up tentative right-of-way language, because until we actually get approved, he can't,
Right.
Mr. Kissinger can't really give anybody anything until it's actually approved and you guys are on board. But what we're going to do is the two people that are directly involved, Laird Stimson and Mr. Gammons, we're going to get something in writing from them saying, well, if these are the right-of-ways and these are the easements that are granted, we're all good with that. Because the Gammons lot is going to increase almost twofold, because before Bill passed away, he told her that he had not fulfilled his obligation. He had sold a lot to her dad, and she couldn't build on it because there was no road frontage. So what he had agreed to do was expand the lot considerably. And Dan, Mr. Kissinger, has agreed to be beholden to that promise by Bill to expand the lot also, even though he doesn't really need to, because it had nothing to do with him. But he's willing to do that because Gammons kind of held his feet to the fire and said, well, I'm not going to be satisfied unless that happens. So he, rather than put it to a test and fight it, he said, I have no problem. That's not any land I'm ever going to use. It's no place anywhere near where my house is going to be. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but his intention is to build a house up in the top field, way up in the top on the hill. So it's not any place near where he's going to use anything. So he didn't have a problem with giving Gammons the extra land. And he's, again, no charge. He's going to pay for all the deed descriptions and everything else that needs to be done. So that's where that stands. And that, so all those things are going to, we're going to try to get those in place before the next planning board meeting, because again, he can't, even though we get the plan approved, it's Jeffrey Sturdivant is the one that owned, as the personal representative, he's the one that I'm adjusting the plan for. And then once it's approved and they sell it to Dan's condition to buy it is that the plan get approved as modified, and hopefully the $100 a day fee gets taken out and gone away, where just Jeff has to pay for all the legal fees that you actually incurred, actual money that the town actually had to spend, recoup the town that monies.
Thank you. So I think that from the sounds of it, it seems like the next logical step is to actually see what the planning board's conditions finally are, and then go from there in terms of what else we would need, if anything beyond that, in order to see our way to solving this lien issue.
Would you be willing, so that, because there are things that have to happen in certain orders, would you be willing that if that list is written up, and it's agreeable to the council, would you be fine with a document that said, if A, B, C, and D happen, we will waive this $100 a day penalty, which would satisfy the financial institutions, but we're not actually waiving anything unless A, B, C, and D happen?
Exactly.
Would you be willing to agree to that
I
at the
would.
next
Yes.
meeting?
It seems like that's the consensus.
If everything is done.
So in that way, they don't have to have it all done before you make the vote, because I think they still need that vote as part of the financing mechanism.
But if they meet all of the requirements that you just said.
And I want to make sure that, like you said, that it's specific, and what is the verification mechanism to ensure that it is done?
Yes.
If we can have a document for our next meeting specifying what it is, then I think we can
Do that.
we can review that then, and assuming that it is as we've discussed tonight, then I would imagine that we could then agree that that would be the condition under which we would
I would.
waive
Okay.
the lien.
Good, so we'll continue to work on that, so to get that for the next meeting.
Sounds good to me.
Good.
Yep.
So it's a council business stuff now, right?
Yes, we are now on to other council business. So, Mr. Lawrence?
That's one big point is, Public Works been doing a fantastic job cleaning up after the winter,
They have.
and they've done a great job.
We actually completed today.
Well, also too, working through the rainy season we had too. That was good management on that, Bruce. Secondly too, last meeting, I was not here,
Excuse me.
and I want to thank a few agencies that assisted. I had a medical emergency 30 minutes before last meeting. I want to thank EMTs, Fairfield Rescue, Delta Ambulance, and Thayer Hospital for the treatment. So that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Bashotti?
I'm good.
Ms. Chandler?
I don't have anything tonight.
Ms. Busk?
I want to praise the fact that we're having the cleanup on the 13th, because I picked up a couple of things already on the road that I'm refurbishing, and I'm so happy about that. I got a fire pit yesterday, so it's all been refurbished, and it's on my property, and it's beautiful, and I'm very happy about that. So probably driving around looking for some more things. So I like that I love the cleanup. It's great.
Excellent.
And
Anything
it
else?
doesn't go to the dump either, so
Yes.
it helps.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. So I've actually, I've got a couple of things I want to bring up, and the things that sort of came to my attention or I thought about within the last couple of days. So unfortunately, they didn't get a more formal place on the agenda. But I wanted to discuss a couple of potential resolutions by the council that I think it would be nice for us to adopt. The first one, I think, is actually a little bit time sensitive if we want it to be meaningful, but this month is Jewish American Heritage Month, which is a federally recognized month of recognition for Jewish citizens. And it has been declared by every president of the United States since 2006. And I have drafted a statement that I will email to the town clerk if we choose to adopt it, recognizing Jewish American Heritage Month in the town of Fairfield. And I would point out the U.S. House of Representatives, when it created this, its proclamation, urged state and local governments to do the same. So I'm hoping we will
You need a motion for that?
follow suit. Well, I was going to read it, and then we can discuss what we want to do with it.
Sure.
But what I've written says, whereas the Jewish community makes up an integral part of the town of Fairfield, whereas May has been declared Jewish American Heritage Month by every president of the United States since 2006, whereas the town of Fairfield supports the equal rights of all of its citizens and recognizes the struggle recognizes the historical and present-day struggle against anti-Semitism in our nation. Whereas the town of Fairfield abhors and rejects any form of discrimination, either historically or in the present day, and commits itself to rejecting all forms of prejudice. Whereas the town of Fairfield recognizes the need for ongoing efforts to end violence and discrimination against Jewish people, particularly in light of recent attacks on synagogues and Jewish religious and cultural sites throughout the United States. And whereas the town of Fairfield recognizes the accomplishments and contributions of its Jewish citizens, it is hereby resolved and declared that the town of Fairfield shall recognize the month of May, beginning with May 2019, as Jewish American Heritage Month in honor of its Jewish citizens and in solemn remembrance of those members of the Jewish community who have been victims of discrimination and violence.
So moved.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second to adopt that resolution.
Yes.
Is there any further discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor of adopting the resolution? Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, the second resolution that I would like to introduce is a resolution in honor of LGBTQ Pride Month, which would begin in June. I noticed that Waterville adopted a similar resolution unanimously, and it was a bipartisan effort on their part to do that. And so I will read the resolution I've drafted, and then we can decide what we would like to do with it. Whereas the LGBTQ community makes up an integral part of the town of Fairfield, whereas June 28th, 2019 marks the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, an historically recognized turning point in public discourse regarding the rights of the LGBTQ community. Whereas June 16th, 2019 marks the anniversary of the Orlando nightclub shooting, a terrorist incident which targeted the LGBTQ community. Whereas the town of Fairfield supports the equal rights of all of its citizens, recognizes the struggle of the LGBTQ community, among other communities, to achieve equality under the law. Whereas the town of Fairfield abhors and rejects any form of discrimination, either historically or in the present day, and commits itself to rejecting all forms of prejudice. Whereas the town of Fairfield recognizes the need for ongoing efforts to end violence and discrimination against LGBTQ people, particularly against young and/or marginalized people. And whereas the town of Fairfield recognizes the accomplishments and contributions of its LGBTQ citizens. And whereas the month of June has historically been recognized as Pride Month by the LGBTQ community, it is hereby resolved and declared that the town of Fairfield shall recognize June, beginning with June 2019, as Pride Month in honor of its LGBTQ citizens and in solemn remembrance of those members of the LGBTQ community who have been victims of discrimination and violence. Would anybody like to move this for debate?
So moved.
I will second it. I think that this resolution speaks to an issue that I've certainly heard people talking about in our community. We have many LGBTQ people in our community who make great contributions. They work in our hospitals and our nursing homes and in all of our industries. They take care of a lot of people. They help a lot of people. And this resolution is not calling on us to support any particular legislation or any particular set of political statements, simply recognizing that they are part of our community and that we support their equality before the law. Is there anybody else want to discuss this?
I don't think anybody should be discriminated
No.
against, and I don't think
Especially
anybody
young
should
kids
be
either.
victimized or injured or killed or hurt because of their sexual orientation or otherwise.
And I'm hoping that we can agree to that. So, any other debate?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Excellent, that passes. And that is all I have. So with that, if there's no other business, the next regular meeting of the Fairfield Town Council will be on Wednesday, May 22nd, 2019. At this time, the council will recess and sign all documents that require the signature of council members.
Motion?
Second.
There's a motion and a second for a recess.
Yes.
Without objection, we are in recess.